You are now listening to the Dual Position Podcast.
The boys are back to talk all things SuperCoach all season long.
Please welcome your hosts, Whisperer and Brew.
Oh, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, that was not a fun round. That took me back to, 2017, 2018, where if you got 1,000, you killed it in round one. So interesting times ahead, but I don't think anyone needs to panic. I think guns are guns, and they're going to come good. There is going to be some people that maybe are on the chopping block, but overall, I'd say don't panic. There's not too many high scores out there.
Yeah, barring injury, I wouldn't be making too many changes. I mean, I've got Sean Russell and then potentially Jermaine Snell-Brown to consider, but apart from that, going to hold pretty firm, I think, on all fronts. I guess we'll touch on a couple of scores this weekend, but not too bad. I mean, for everyone watching the stream, you can see my score, you can see Baru's score. Not ideal, not a great start, but hey, worst case scenario, we're probably 200 points off the pack, like the top echelon. So look, and this is going to sound rough, but the sides have scored 11, 1,200. I ain't too worried about personally, mate.
No, look, I don't have any. I'm not jumping to trade anyone. I took a tactical move, which turned out to be a big fail with.
Sorry, so Brew said, nah, not making many changes to my team. Then sent me his team this morning. What happened, mate? You bottled it.
Yeah, I made a lot of changes. I got a bit worried on Thursday about Tom Turbo, so I decided I wanted a strategy in case I needed to get on him, so I didn't have to rip my team apart. So I got Cody Walker in. I figured Cody's got a poor draw for the next month, so I was hoping he'd go massive against the Broncos, and then I could cash out and have the funds available if need be to go to Turbo. And then when Watson moved into the starting 9, that caused a few more changes, and it's just a flow-on effect, and all these things added up, and I lost some key guys who went all right. Sloan in particular burnt me a little bit, but overall, I'm not too disappointed. Like Angus, Kim Murray, guys like this, they got 50 to 55, but I don't think they're going to be getting that for the season, and I'm not looking to trade anyone like that. I brought in Dave Clemmer. He looked good. Didn't score wonderfully well, but I was quite okay with what I saw from Clem, and I think he's going to be the leader in that pack. So, yeah, you win some, you lose some, I guess.
Yeah, so it's a marathon, not a sprint. I'm only really concerned about not owning one player right now. We'll touch on them shortly. Hey, let's do a bit of a round recap. The Panthers 28, the Sea Eagles 6. This one, the headline's dominated by Nathan Cleary not being there, but I mean, the Premier's at home against a one-man team. Look, I fell into the trap of taking the no Cleary Panthers. I took the Seagulls in this. I think a lot of people took the Seagulls, and yeah, the Panthers just showed why they are probably the best team in the competition.
It was an interesting game, that. It wasn't really what I expected. Manly were in the game early, and then the coach took off Marty Tapau, and I think he took off Sipley, and they lost all their momentum when that happened, and the Panthers just started playing a positional game and really took control. My big winners from that game, Zaya was absolutely fantastic. I don't know if he got the man of the match or not, but I think he should have.
74 points, pretty much all in base. So yeah, Yo was just phenomenal. And I said
Crichton was great too.
I said to you in the pod, Yo, in my mind, is the best 13 in the game. What he can do on both sides of the ball is just phenomenal. And Supercoach wise, yeah, 74 points. Played the full game, all in base, just he got through it.
Yeah, from Manly's side, Bullimore turned out to be quite good. I was quite happy with that.
I look like the biggest knob on Twitter. I posted at halftime. 5 minutes before halftime, I was like, well, this Bullimore experiment's not doing too well. And then sure as shit, like clockwork, he bursts through the center. 31-point play. Thanks for coming, Turbo on top of that. Not great timing from me there.
Even if you take out the 17 points for the try, because he didn't get a line break, he's still in decent areas for a 280k player. So I thought he did quite well. I think he will hold his spot for a while. I'm okay with the pick. I'm not looking to trade him anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't have him. I probably don't know if I will get him. If I can find the cash to go from JTB to him, then I probably will. If not, I'll drop down to someone else. I mean, Tom Trbojevic with a 62 on updates got a pretty handy score there. Like with updates, a DCA with a 60, not else too much to write home about. But yeah, I mean, Api Coruscant, William Kickow, 91, 87 respectively. Sean O'Sullivan, I mean, we said this after the trials, like he's the best halfback not starting in the NRL, and like he was phenomenal. Liam Martin, look, crashed over. So, 31 point play there from him, but overall ended up on an 80. So, owners reap the rewards there. And Dylan Edwards was an absolute monster this game. 344 run meters. That is huge.
Yeah, this guy, he eats run meters for breakfast. Like, he was phenomenal. Like, he's not on that echelon of those top guys, but in terms of how important he is to the Panthers, he's astronomically important to them and what he does. I was a bit surprised with he wasn't as involved as I thought he would be, and I think that might have been because there was a lot of involvement from young Tago and Crichton himself. So it'd be interesting. Keep an eye on that.
Tago's locked himself into a nailed-on starter. He should be for a lot of SuperCoach sides. Yeah, he had the inflated score with the try, but like just the base there for a centre wing, he should pump out 40 week in, week out. And he's kind of solidified himself as a nailed-on starter in my side. I didn't start him this week, so the round got off to a fantastic start. But moving forward, I won't be making the mistake of benching him moving forward. And same with another centre that we'll touch on later in this. Both have fantastic work rates. Hey, the second game, the Raiders and the Sharks. The Raiders get the job done here in a weird scoreline, 24-19. A lot of the guys we talked up in the preseason for the Raiders delivered, but we always had that caveat of Ricky playing roulette was hard. Hudson Young was one of those guys, and he had a sensational SuperCoach game, top score with an 80-point performance.
Yeah, that was actually my favourite game of the round, I think. I really enjoyed that game. I know that you thought it was a bit of a shit show at times, but I quite enjoyed it. I really liked the way that the Sharks started to show a lot more in the second half. I think they're going to take time, but I was really happy with Nico Hines. I was keeping a close eye on him, and he's definitely someone I want to get in ASAP. It could be as soon as this week. I took a punt on Corey Harawira-Naera, and given he played most of the game in the centres and also spent time on the wing.
Where did this come from?
I spoke to you a few weeks ago, and I was talking up Harawira-Naera, and it was like a 2-day thing. And then, when I heard that he was about to re-sign for 3 years, I was like, you know what, this might be 80 minutes, Corey on the edge, and the Raiders looked quite good in their last trial. So I decided I was going to go completely rogue and take a sneaky pod, and I'm not disappointed with that choice because he was one of my best performers this weekend.
Yeah. Look, the shift to the centres was probably annoying for owners, but that's the gauntlet you run with Corey because he is so versatile, similar to a Satili or similar to an Angus. Like they will shift to the centres if need be, which is frustrating. But yeah, I mean the upside's there. Hey, Jack Whiten, after me talking him up for a month, he just looked. He looked like the old Jack White and running the ball. Just looked really, really on it. Scored a 73 this week. Will score a 19 next week. But they're the highs and the lows that you take with Jack Whiten.
He was the best player on the park, in my opinion. He does. He looks a lot more like the 2019, 2020 Jack Whiten. He looks really dangerous, especially when he was playing on the left-hand side. And I was quite impressed with what he did. I still don't like him from a SuperCoach perspective purely because I prefer more consistency. We'll talk about a possible combination I'm looking at in the halves running forward a little bit later in the show, but he's not my style of player. But in terms of NRL, he was brilliant this week. So keep a keen eye on him.
Our pod play from our sort of 10% less team, Sig Wilton. He looked really, really good. 85 points with a try. Ran a really, really nice line off Nico. And yeah, he just looked really, really good. And he could be a play for 6 weeks with Wade Graham out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future because Wade's career's got to be coming close to an end with the injuries and the concussions and whatnot. And at some point, he might end up going down that bench rotation role to preserve his career. So it'd be interesting to see if that's something that maybe happens towards the back end of this year because Teague looks really good when he gets given the opportunity.
I think Stocks for Tom Starling were at an all-time high for about 12 hours, and then it was released that Josh Hodgson isn't out for as long as what we thought, so probably cool the Jets there on Tom Starling, unfortunately. And Brad Schneider, 45 points on debut. I mean, you could do worse than having him as your 17th man with a good matchup.
Schneider looked really good, actually. I thought he played his role really well. He didn't try and overplay his hand. He had a really good kicking game, looks to be a pretty good goal kicker. So I was pretty impressed. I think he'll hold that spot for a while. On Tom Starling, they look like such a better side when he's on the field. I think they seriously need to look at. He needs to be the 9, and old mate needs to go into the 14. I think, given that he's leaving the club, because they just have a lot more speed out of the ruck and a lot more space to work with when you got Twinkle Toes there. He looks like a young Damien Cook to me.
Supercoach wise, he did nothing, but I thought Elliot Whitehead offered a lot at 13. I feel like he just opens the space up a little bit, so not much more to be said there on him at Supercoach. And I will make a note. Any Sharks forwards, you have Britton Okora, Toby Rudolph, Dalfinukin, whoever sort of scored poorly. Don't stress too much. They had 31% of the ball in the first half. I know from first hand, I own Britton Okora, so I was watching him quite heavily. I think he had 11 points at halftime, finished on 36. So the work rate picked up in that second half when the ball balanced out. But 31% possession in the first half was always going to have you back against the wall. But yeah, good win from the Raiders. The second game on Friday, this was a really good one. The Broncos 11, the Rabbitohs 4. Bronx looked really good, and I'm just going to come out and say Billy Walters needs to be the 5'8". I know that Albert Kelly played well and whatever, but like just what Billy Walters does on defense is exactly what Kevy's looking for. Some things that didn't show up in the stat sheet, he was just continually talking to Kurt Capewell all game, just moving Capewell where we wanted him to, was really communicating well with Herbie Farnworth on his outside, and that left-hand side, just Souths were not getting through.
Surprising outcome this one. I honestly thought that the Souths would put at least 30 on the Broncos. So it goes to show you that the trials aren't always the clearest indication of what round one is going to dish up.
I lost so much money on this game. So much money. I backed South to the hills.
There you go. But I've got to say, Cobbo and Staggs looks like a real electric edge. I agree with you on the Billy Walters comment. He actually really surprised me how well he played. Against South Sydney, he controlled the ball well. He looked dangerous on the left-hand side when he was floating over there. I was quite impressed. I thought the early game, they won because of the way that they played early on, in my opinion. Haas and Carrigan were relentless for about 20, 25 minutes to start the game. They were taking, one would have a hit up, the next one would have another hit up, and they were 40 meters downfield already, and they just played off the back of that. So that was really impressive from them. Hopefully that can continue.
Yeah, can we not talk about Payne Haas, please?
Gladly. As a non-owner, it's a little bit scary not owning him if he's going to pump out 70 minutes week in and week out, because with his work rate, that's going to probably be 75 to 90 a week, which you can just bank on. And if we see more rounds over the next couple, like this round, going back to forwards as captains could potentially become a necessity almost. Yeah,
I'm in two minds with Haas. Obviously, I want him, but I want to see what kind of minutes Kevy puts him through when Flegler is back. And there was someone else that I was looking, and Kobe, when Kobe's back.
You won't really know until round 4, 5, 6 for that. So
I'll give it a week with Kobe, because he's back next week, and then we'll pull the trigger round 3 if we have to. I think Kevy jokingly apologised to Payne about the minutes he put in through this game as well. Close game, you're going to play your big boys up front. I know you're keen on Pat Carrigan. This is always Pat Carrigan's issue. He'll have like a phenomenal 40 minutes. Kevy will play him for the first half outright, and then just has like a big stint in the second half where he's on the sideline just to recover, and then comes on for the last 15. And by that stage, the scoring kind of over. But he looked fantastic. I mean, as for Staggs and Cobbo, as a Staggs owner, a lot of people have been messaging me saying they're pulling the pin on Staggs. Why?
No.
He passed the eye test dramatically. The Broncos scored 11 points. Like, what do you expect out of a side that scores 11 points? I mean, I tipped him to go under 40 this week, and he did. But like, even still, like, they scored 11 points. What are you supposed to do? Like, he got some pretty rubbish balls from Kelly. Overran a couple. I mean, yeah. And as for Cobbo, I mean, he could have had 2 try assists and a try for himself. I mean, Kelly overran him there. Both those guys just looked phenomenal.
I'm going to have another look at Cobbo, especially with Russell potentially out for a while. But that could be around round 3 trade for me. Stags, I wanted to wait and see, but I quite liked what I saw. They looked really dangerous down there. And Stags is the kind of guy that if he looks dangerous, he's going to have games where he scores 2 or 3 tries and he's going to score 140 points. So just because he had one poor week and his base isn't, immense. It's never has been. He's always had the goal kicking, which he now doesn't have. So just, temper the expectations. He's going to have some 30s, some 35s, but he's also really going to have some monsters, which you're going to want to have, I think. So if you started with him, just hold true.
Kurt Capewell as well played 80 minutes. Was jumped up by a field goal, but overall pretty solid numbers from a guy that we didn't have huge expectations for. Let's talk about South Sydney, and if you were to give me a top scorer from this game, Josh Mansour, considering he wasn't even named to play, would have been my last choice to pick.
Yeah, so I got to tell you, but Sauce wasn't very good.
Sauce was fucking awful. He was terrible. Sorry, Sauce, but he was not good.
He's just slowed down. Like, he still does the run in from the wing, which sometimes opens up. Like I think it was Cobbo went past him at one point, and his movement in the air is not what it used to be either. Like, he looks like he's aged and slowed down a bit, and I can see why they're not picking him. Jai Arrow was the guy that really caught my attention because I'm pretty sure that 62 is majorly base and 80 minutes as well. So that could definitely be an option at some point.
It wasn't quite 80, came off for about 10 minutes, but still I think 69, 70 minutes was awesome. He started the game, played 20 on the edge, and then just pumped through like the next 55 minutes or 50 minutes in the middle, which is awesome to see. Sauce, he used to be one of the best ball runners in the comp, but like I feel like he never ever gets any kind of post contact meters, never ever gets to his hands and knees, never gets a quick play the ball for South. So yeah, I mean, Sauce will not be there next week, which is good for South. Campbell Graham 60, Damien Cook 58. I mean, for a side that scores 4 points, and Damien Cook, we know, is such an attacking hooker. If you're a Cook owner, seeing him score 58, you'd take that all day, yeah, 100%. Cam Murray, 54. Don't stress on Cam Murray. If you picked him up knowing he was coming off the back of a shoulder reconstruction. Don't stress. Alex Johnson, 49 points at fullback. Awesome. Moving down, though, like Cody Walker, my pick for the most points this round because I thought he was going to single-handedly become the mayor of Brisbane after this game. What happened?
Cody playing both sides didn't suit his game very much for me. I think he needs to... I don't mind if he floats right from time to time, but I think he needs to stay mostly on the left. And he seemed to get a little bit of a niggle just before half time. He went down with the trainer. It was about a minute before half time, I think, and he wasn't particularly involved in the second half. So, yeah, I've got a decision to make there because he was a 1 week play for me. I was chasing the glory. I did think he was going to, get 100 plus this week and tear up the Broncos, and that didn't happen. So part of me thinks maybe I'll just go sideways, go Munster and have the 3 stack in the halves. But there is an option where I cash out, have a lot of money because I would go down to, what's his name? He played in this game, Ilias, which would give me the best part of 560k or something like that. So
I didn't hate
decision to be made.
I didn't hate the Walker punt. You just know that it was a 1 week play because of how awful the draw is. But yeah, it didn't pan out. But I think you just swiftly move on to Munster. Hey, game 4. Oh boy, the Roosters 6, the Knights 20. Oh, this one stung. I stacked my side with the Roosters. I stacked the entire left side. Boy, howdy. I know you're a fan, so we'll talk on your fan point soon, but just from a SuperCoach standpoint, this is kind of where madness ensued. I mean, the Turbo 60, yeah, whatever. I mean, a couple of poor scores here and there, but this was like the icing on the cake. This was the tip of the iceberg when it came to SuperCoach this weekend.
I was in a really bad mood after this game. I'm the same.
I bet.
I had that, like, being a Roosters fan, it was really not fun to watch.
You guys were
them play
awful.
So poorly. But then having 6 Roosters on top of that, just kind of put the knife in and turned it. And then Tedesco was my captain, so that was just the sledgehammer to the face to finish it all off.
Hey, I'm looking at these scores, seeing Angus Crichton get 51, and just thinking, how? I reckon I heard his name called about twice all game.
Would have been tackles. He didn't have many hit-ups in the first half, to be honest with you. So I thought Watson was pretty good. I think he'll get better with time. And
how much time, though?
Roosters,
that's the problem. Like, if you're taking this Watson punt, like, how much? Because Verrills is back in, what, a month?
My goal with Watson was to hope that he made a little bit of cash and move him straight on to Harry Grant as quickly as I can. I thought I might be able to do that. I thought the Roosters might put some scores on some teams, and they may still do that, and hopefully that is the case. But 50 is not the worst case scenario, is it? Like, it's not a terrible score. There wasn't any attacking stats in that. Just, I think it's like, the same. I think it's 6. Cam Murray, Crichton. There's a lot of guys in these 50 kind of areas. I think that they'll go better next week. You know, I actually took a punt in this game, and I grabbed Fletcher Baker. I'm really high on Fletcher Baker, and it sounds like he's actually won the right to start now. Yep. And given the rule changes that are coming up, I thought it might be handy to grab him now, because once he plays that third game and I can flip him into the front row, that might be extremely handy for me. And I was quite happy with what I saw from him. If he can get at least as many minutes, I reckon the PPM will increase a little if the Roosters aren't playing so poorly. And I'm hoping that turns out to be a little masterstroke, because, you know, as soon as I saw he was starting, I jumped on for 240 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking at him. I'll give it another week, see how Robbo wants to use him. If he's going to start again, awesome. I mean, TKO did himself no favours in trying to win a start back. Jared Hargraves was also pretty bad. Paul Momorowski on the wing got through a fair bit of base, which is good to see. As a Daniel Tupou owner, I was jumping out of my chair, jumping up and down, screaming when he made that bust through the middle. I mean, that call that Clemmer was in, Clemmer wouldn't be catching a snail there, let alone Daniel Tupou. So I don't understand it, but it's black and white. But anyway, the Roosters sucked.
It is,
and
it is the rule.
It's the rule, but it's a stupid rule.
I thought that when Radley went off, it just completely stifled the Roosters' attack. I think he's very important to the attack, more important than what people recognise. And when he went off, they seemed to lost a lot of their fluidness, and they just really started to struggle. They didn't look like the Roosters of old. I don't think Keary and Walker were gelling too well, so it might just take a few weeks for them to get going.
Two cooks in the kitchen there, and I think Keary was overplaying his hand a touch, and Walker sort of had to sit back, and it wasn't working. If you bought Walker, you have to understand there's going to be highs and lows with this kid. But I guess this was the game where I thought there would be a high, and then watching Parramatta decimate the Titans kind of dug the knife in even more, because you know how keen I was on Mitch Moses sort of all preseason, and then made the switch to Walker last minute. For the Knights, though, our boy, Dane Gagai, the biggest regressor in averages when it comes to 2022. I think you and I both said this was a cracking start to his SuperCoach career at the Knights, or his re-career, his resurgence.
Yeah, I should probably issue a public apology to Dane Gagai, Sean Lane, and a couple other blokes, because they all had good games this weekend. Now, he was good. Dom Young's the one that
My boy, Dom Young.
I know you talked him up in January, I think it was, and he looked really good. He looked damaging and dangerous, and he could be quite the scorer this year. So for 330-ish, I think he is. Not a bad option. I thought Jake Clifford actually had quite a good game as well. Lachlan Fitzgibbon looked like, prime Angus Crichton for most of the game, which really took me off guard. I didn't know he had that in him anymore, but he was probably the most dangerous man on the field for the majority, I think, of the game.
Do you want to know someone that you haven't spoken, and he went very under the radar? Tyson Frizzell. I don't think he did anything. He pumped out 76.
I mentioned him when we did the 2RF pod.
Yeah, he was sneaky.
He just bangs out massive base, and the problem was he didn't get many tries last season. But yeah, he's one of those sneaky guys that will continue, I think, to constantly go under the radar. So yeah, if you've got the cash, he's not the worst option.
Kurt Mann could become one of the best link men in the NRL, but receipts aren't.
Kurt Mann played really well, but it just didn't correlate into points. So yeah, he'll be all right. I think he'll be a 55 average guy still. It was only round one.
I've just seen out of the corner of my eye, I don't have the live chat up on the screen, but out of the corner of my eye, I've just seen someone say, my strategy next season is to pick everyone Whisperer and Brew Flame. You know what, mate? That'd be a brilliant strategy. Hey, Kalen Ponga, 40 points in a very
SuperCoach God saying fuck you to us.
Callum Ponga 40 points in a very, very dominant effort. That's kind of worrying. I mean, you and I were cold on him all preseason, but he's not goal kicking, so he's going to lose, 10 points, and then he's not really getting involved. Clifford is just being the man, and Ponga's kind of like,
I thought Ponga was okay in this game. I thought Newcastle as a whole looked better than they did for the back half of last season. But I think the days of Ponga being a SuperCoach weapon are probably gone.
Unless he is in Redcliffe, and then I will probably jump on him. I'm very glad I did not jump on Momrasia or Leo Thompson. Just no minutes off the bench. They're not going to make any cash, and they will be out of the side very, very shortly. Game 5, the Warriors 16, the Dragons 28. This was a really weird game to sort of analyse, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to get Josh Curran. I'm going to lick my wounds. Admit that I got it wrong. His base is good. The attacking output is still there at 13. He'll move to the edge and get even better. I'm going to admit a defeat on here, wave the white flag, issue my public apology to Josh Curran, and look to try and get him in kind of ASAP.
Josh Curran was the best player on the park, hands down. I know Ravalawa scored a hattie, and he was really good in doing so, but Curran looked extremely dangerous. The amount of times that he almost offered up, a line break assist or a try assist was beyond me. So I was very nervous watching him play. He was really, really good. Johnson was good too. It was kind of like the Johnson of old. I enjoyed him. Katoa got inflated a little bit by the try, so don't take that. His 76 was good, but at the same time, he got 30 plus points in one play.
Yep.
Vanilla Blake's score surprised me. I thought he had done more work than what apparently he had done.
That includes a line break as well. So 51 with a line break and 2 tackle busts. That's more like 35 points if you take out that attacking return. So, Vanilla Blake is just...
Yeah, I didn't actually end up on Fanua Blake, so I might have missed a bullet there.
Lodge is coming.
The other
Lodge
guy
is
was
coming back.
Aiken.
So Lodge is coming back with Fanua Blake as well, which kind of worries you. But I want to touch on you and Aiken too. I mean, 58 points, no attacking.
Pretty much all in base. Yeah.
Anyone that went him looks like they've done well. I've got plenty of options. I've got plenty of mid-range 2RFs if I want to downgrade. So I'll be looking at my options this week. I'll see what Teamless Tuesday offers up and what the casualty ward sort of offers up. But apart from that, Rocco Berry, 35 points, basically all in base, and no one else there to really talk on. Valela, 16 points, no. For the Dragons, though, if you own Michaeli Ravalawa in draft, put him on the trade block now. He is probably the biggest sell high candidate this week for me. Yeah, you don't get to play the Warriors every week and score 3 tries.
Yeah, that's right. He's done this before and scored a hattie, and then the next week he's come out and got 15. So he's just one of those guys who he was a winger having a field day. Tyrell Sloan was amazing. Bit dirty. I ended up pulling him out of my side. He was in there on Thursday morning. He was in my side, and by Thursday night he wasn't. He looked really, really good, as did Zach Lomax. Zach Lomax could be a top 5 centre this year. I think he looked really, really dangerous. Jack Bird as well looked pretty damn good on the edge.
Bird,
all guys that we
inflated.
spoke highly of in the preseason, but
Jack Bird inflated though. I mean, if we're gonna give the treatment to Ellie Katoa, we've got to give the treatment to Jack Bird. 6'9" with a try and a line break. I mean, that's down to sort of 40-ish. I mean, awesome score. Like if you own him, I'm not shitting on him, not by any means. But if we're gonna give the brush over on Katoa, we've got to give the brush over on Bird here. I feel. I mean, the base numbers weren't as impressive as what I wanted. If you told me he was scoring a try with a line break, I would have wanted to see closer to 90 to 100 points. If him playing big minutes on the edge.
That's fair. But in round 6, he might do that because I think everyone's base will naturally increase as their fitness increases over the course of the opening rounds. That's normally what happens.
We all selling James Tedesco and buying Moses and buy?
Oh, well, totally, right? He scored higher than him. It means James Tedesco is shit.
Exactly.
Nah, look, Teddy will be all right, but I don't think he's the top 2. I think Pappenhausen and Turbo is the combo that you want.
I didn't get to watch this game as a Tigers fan. It pains me, but at halftime, I wish I ran home and watched it. After looking at the full-time score, though, I don't. A lot of talking points out of this one. Probably the best bloke in rugby league Christian Welch looks like he's out for the season, Achilles snap, which never good to see. George Jennings, ACL, not good to see. And Brandon Smith, broken hand after about a minute. So the Storm with their backs against the wall the entire game. And Jerome Hughes, I mean, Pappenhausen underdone, no Munster, no Grant, no Smith. Hughes had to step up, and boy, howdy, did he deliver.
Yeah, it was somewhat a game of two halves. Like, as you said, two guys went down pretty early for the Storm. Smith with his fractured hand. Poor old Jennings, you could see it. No one even had a hand on him, and he just went down. And you just knew that. Yeah, it was a classic ACL. You knew it on the spot, and I just felt terrible for the guy. It might open up an opportunity for Iramia, or I personally think it'll go to Meaney, and that could hurt Pappenhausen too, because Meaney could retain the goal kicking. We'll see what happens.
I don't know. He didn't strike him well on the weekend. I'll tell you that.
I think Pappy's a really good goal kicker. He reminds me of Holmes, the way he goal kicks. So hopefully he gets it back. Jerome Hughes, second half, just tore him apart. Pappenhausen looked good. He held back in involvement a little bit, but I think just as time goes on, he's going to be a very special guy to own again this year. King should be a big winner. A few things go in his favour now. Nass looks like he's going to be in the bench rotation. Poor old Thingo, snapped his Achilles. So King looks like he could be a permanent starter now.
Yeah, Cheese out.
55K, like there's an option there for us. In getting Clemmer in and Fletcher Baker in, casualty of that was Josh King, which now burns me a little bit. So that frustrates me. Coates. There's too many of these guys. Coates was kind of quiet as we expected. He got the one try and ended up with 45, which is that
saved my ass. That
you
try, yeah, I got Coates. I was just like, I was at the gym and I was just watching the sort of live scores, and I was just like, what the hell is happening? And then I saw Molly and I saw the 9 Mole tweet Coates goes over, and I was just like, thank the Lord, like. And that was a thing. Like you punted on Walker, I punted on Coates and Sam Walker as well. Like in these favourable matchups, and for him to get 46 feels like a huge win after what could have been. Like obviously he could have gone for 100, but like the Tigers just showed more resilience than what I guess we all gave them credit for.
Well, yeah. Now I am going to talk about the Tigers. They were actually really impressive in the first half. Really surprising. They showed a lot of heart and a lot of go forward, and their attack still needs a lot of work, but there was some positives in what I saw. Young Tuolagi, he's a weapon.
Absolute freak.
They had nothing against him, even whether it was near the goal line or whether it was coming off his own goal line. They didn't know how to stop him. He was making meters and offloads, and he was really damaging and really, really impressive. So I hope he's only got a niggle, because I know he went off second half, with a bit of a niggle. So hopefully he is okay. I thought Hastings was better than the 35 points that he scored. Brooks was okay.
I don't think Brooks was as good as the 71 points he got. So Hastings was better than the 35 he got, but I don't think Brooks was as good as the 71 that he got.
It's a funny game sometimes. They looked a lot better when Peachy came on late in the first half as well. They looked like they had a lot more creativity. And it was nice to see Ofe Ngawe actually play some good footy. Because honestly, I feel like it's been a long time since I've seen that, but he played really, really well. And the other guy was Gildart, actually. Gildart looks dangerous. Like when he has the ball, he does look like he can offer some things up. So I think at times over the course of this season, Gildart will go quite big. He might score a few tons over the course of the season. If he can find some consistency, he might become a sneaky option if the Tigers have a draw at some point that is promising. And I think season long, they've got a decent draw from memory. So yeah, props to the Tigers. They surprised me. I honestly thought they were, going to get pumped. And the first half, they went in leading and you were like, wow, what's going on here? So credit to them.
After we talked Big Luch up all preseason, how good he was in the trials, performed 2 really good scores. He gets 25, not ideal. And one man I wanted to touch on, Stefano. Didn't look good in trial 1, looked average in trial 2, didn't look great this trial. Obviously, it's not a priority trade, but surely he's now got to be in some people's bad books.
No, he actually was really good for the first 20 minutes. I didn't notice him a lot after that, but as the season goes on, that 44 will turn into a 54 or a 60. So I wouldn't stress at this point in time. There's so many front row forwards this week who are in that 45 to 50 point range. It's not even funny. So there's no need to stress at this point in time. You would hate to sell him, and next week he comes out and gets 70.
Game of the round for me, Parramatta 32, the Titans 28. Seeing Mitch Moses get 88 makes me want to put salt in my open wounds because it really stings to see Sam Walker perform so poorly. I put this on Twitter. I was keen on Mitch Moses all preseason. Loved him. Loved the stats about him decimating sides lower than them, and then sort of SuperCoach Twitter got in my head. I jumped on Sam Walker, and I know it's round one, but like Moses just looks a class above the rest when he's out there. Like, for me, he's the second best halfback in the country. And if he was a Queenslander, he'd be starting, no two ways about it.
I disagree with that statement, but he was very, very good today. God, he's a good goal kicker.
Can kick him.
He certainly can kick them. The Eels were really good. And what stuffed the Eels up was actually the Russell injury, because when they moved Dylan Brown out into the centres and moved Wonga out to the wing, it stifled their attack a lot. And, you know, second half, I think they kicked 3 penalty goals, but the game itself was a cracker game to watch. It was the most game that was most like last season. Yeah. It was just constant back and forward points, you know, shots fired. And every other game was this tight little struggle for the most part. So there was a lot of impressive players. Junior Polo would be a little bit of a concern for owners. He seemed to move into the James Graham / Gerbo role of ball playing.
This really gross link man that scores no points.
Yeah, so that was probably concerning for owners. Penasini's base is incredible to get 48. You know, when they didn't go right too often, it was mostly all down the left side, was brilliant.
Put him in the Tago category. 2 guys that you just
play him every week.
You lock him in. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Russell now, looking at 4 to 6 weeks with it's either fractured or broken ribs. I'm not sure of what the Fijian fella is, but he's bottom dollar. He's might come into consideration. Yep, he could get a spot on the wing. I'm not sure what other options they might go for, but for Dylan Brown's sake, hopefully they pick someone and they don't get injured, because Brown lost a stack of points, I reckon, getting shifted out there. He pretty much scored nothing in the second half.
He looked really good in the first. He looked really good in the first half. It does look like
Moses is the dominant half, though. Definitely, Moses has got the higher ceiling.
I was just about to say,
took control.
Brown looks like the third option in the attacking trio between out of him, Gutho, and Moses. But if they're putting up as many points as they are, like being the third option is fine. Jerome Hughes is the third option at Melbourne, and he still puts up plethora of points. So don't stress too much. Hopefully we get some kind of regulation centre, and I'm not too stressed about Dylan Brown just yet. I mean, if he gets moved to the centres next week and Jacob Arthur comes on without any injury, that's when we hit the panic button. But we'll give it another week. A couple of guys here that I want to touch on. Isaiah Papali'i, 64, all in base. Awesome. Just getting back to what he was last year. Sean Lane with a 71, Brew's favourite player of all time. Wonga Blake looked pretty good. Sean Russell, obviously 85, 3 tries. Fantastic. That bounce off the kick for Moses' one, just 17 points of pure junk there. I think Reid Marnie gets a few updates. I feel like he has been scored very poorly this game. Don't be surprised to see Marnie go up to around 50. Same with Dylan Brown. Dylan Brown did not get a try assist for that try to Russell in the corner, so expect him to be updated as well. Anyone else here that we want to talk about that was kind of relevant? Gutho didn't do too well. Matto didn't do too well. 2 guys. Gutho was keen on, but Matto, once he moved to 13, I was not keen on at all, and it was good to see that was kind of, backed up.
Gutho had a really good game, though. I've got to say, he was so close. He does so much.
He does this every time, though. Like, Gutho will never give you a bad game, but sometimes Gutho's game doesn't translate to SuperCoach.
And as for Marnie had a great game. Like, the 40-20 was fantastic. I was really surprised to see that he only scored 38, but I'm not too worried at this point in time. I think he'll go back to his 60-plus scores. So
with
I'll
a
just pick and stick
40-20
with him.
too, which was weird. So, like, I feel like he's been scored very low. But anyway, updates will
Yeah,
come.
I don't think he had 28 in base, but we will see. He didn't attack the line very much today, admittedly. He just ball serviced. He normally would, have a dig from close at the line. He didn't do that, but give it time. The Titans were
Good.
surprising. They were surprisingly good.
Philip Sami and Brian Kelly, they were pretty good, inflated by attack. Aaron Clark, was I mistaken? He played 80 minutes. So
No,
he didn't. He was inflated. I know he got a try. That's right, yeah, because Tanner Boyd came on at the end. My apology. Toby Sexton, 64 points. Everyone that was saying Toby Sexton has too small of a sample size, put your head in. Toby Sexton is a very, very composed, good young footballer and can strike them off the tee. He can kick them.
Look, Toby Sexton, he could get 20 next week, but it won't change the fact that he looks like a very classy NRL halfback. So he's definitely an option for people if they want to, say, downgrade, even if they want to downgrade Sam Walker, for example. I'm not advocating that. I would give him another week to have a look how Sammy Walker goes, but it's certainly an option where you can make some cash. I think you'd probably make about 110,000, which can go a long way. He was very, very good. He looked very dangerous.
This narrative that people were writing on Tino Asul Malawi with the captaincy didn't really translate, didn't get a huge minutes increase. So, yeah, I'm not rushing to get him.
I didn't expect it to.
Fafita was kind of underwhelming. I mean, 55, yeah, cool. But
but that's the concern.
With a line break.
He did nothing.
No, but he had a line break in there as well. So, like, take that down to 45. I mean...
Yeah, that was so junky, that one. It was the ball that kind of... They were manning up and the ball just skid along the ground out to him and he just bumped someone off and away he went. And I was spitting chips because I think I literally just said
in the group chat, yeah, 2 minutes before.
2 minutes before. I'd love to see Fafita go under 45 in this game. I'll be cheering, which is about where he would have been without that line break. So, I'm a bit worried that he can do sweet FA and still get 55, but we'll see. I'm happy with a 55 for a, mid $700,000 player in round one.
I actually really, really enjoyed this game. The Cowboys 4, the Bulldogs 6. It was a slugfest, but I actually enjoyed watching it. 6 o'clock games on a Sunday can sometimes be rough to watch, but I didn't mind this one. This was good to watch.
Oh, that game hurt my eyeballs, to be honest.
No, I liked it.
Really
I liked the scrappy footy. It was good because what more?
It was a good contest.
What more do you expect from the Cowboys versus the Bulldogs? Honestly, what did you expect coming into it?
Look, for the talking points from that game for me were Jeremiah Nanai was the best Cowboy on the field. I thought he had a fantastic game. So he is clearly the winner out of him and Helium Lukey. Outside of that, Jeremy Marshall King surprised me.
My boy.
He offered a lot out of dummy half. He was one of the most damaging players on the field. Outside of that, I wasn't particularly thrilled with much else in that game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, Luke Thompson coming off the bench, 62 points. I mean, you and I said this when we looked at the Teamless Tuesday breakdowns. Luke Thompson was going to be the big winner out of this. But Max King, just Max King doing Max King things. 50 points. Take it or leave it. How good is he?
He is very good.
Matt Burton.
Very good. It's a good score for a near bottom dollar player.
Put Matt Burton in the bin until round 10. Just put him in the bin. Straight into the bin until round 10. Minimum.
We've always said that. They're like, this was one of their easy games. So what happens when we get Storm and Roosters and, well, maybe not the Roosters, but Panthers and all the other teams. So be interesting.
Whatever charity you were donating, I think they'll be $250 poorer thanks to Hamiso. I am not too worried about him averaging over 55 points after 10 rounds. Just the Cowboys cannot put on points, and that was the reason why I took the bet. Jermaine Snell-Brown looked fantastic for 20 minutes. He put on 23 points in 20 minutes. Awesome. And then came on with 25 minutes to go, so I was expecting a 45-minute stint. 2 minutes into that stint, he got injured. So...
What was the injury?
I do not know. I just saw him go off and it didn't look good. So, not ideal, but we do have Josh King. So, if I'm looking just to play another shitty 50-point front row forward, I've got one there, which is ideal, which is probably, I think, where my trades are going to be lying this week, mate. I'm not making any rage trades, but I think I will make Tanil Brown to Josh King just out of necessity.
Interesting. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Are we doing sin bins and send-offs now, are we?
We are. Let me transition the little screen back and my first little stinger.
Just credit to all the boys. We stuck solid in.
Yeah, full credit to the boys. Brew, who are we giving full credit to this week?
CHN for me. I thought he had a barnstormer of a game, and I thought he was a great little pickup. My shout out would go to Sean Russell. 85 points in 36 minutes. Doesn't get much better than that for a guy that costs $285,000.
I am. Someone's asking how we get one of the singlets. We haven't actually done any merch yet. Brew just printed those because Brew's a good bloke. If it's something you guys are keen on, let me know. We'll see what we can do. Full credit to the boys. I mean, Payne Haas, he gets my full credit. No two ways about it. 91 points from a front row forward. Fantastic. The Knights in general, they also get a full credit to the boys.
Just credit to all the boys. We stuck solid.
Yeah, just credit to all the Knights. I think they were fantastic. Josh Curran also gets full credit to the boys, as does Jerome Hughes.
Just credit to all the boys. We stuck solid in.
Yeah, that was Aaron Woods from 2014. Brewski.
That deserves sending off. I'm sorry to say.
Yes. The fun part of the week where we get to just take a big steam and pile of on a couple of boys. Sin bins. So these are the guys that we're not happy with, but we're not going to put the red line through straight away. Dylan Brown playing centre. Just 10 in the bin straight away. If this happens again, you are gone. Adam Fanua-Blake is also getting put in the sin bin this week for me. He's looking like what he did last year, which we do not need. We need him to be improving to be that top front row forward that we were predicting. And every SuperCoach relevant Rooster is getting put in the sin bin this week. They'll come back next week. They'll be fit and firing, but for now, they're getting put in the sin bin, mate.
Yeah, look, Sam Walker is somewhat in the sin bin for me. I was really torn on him versus Hines. I wish I'd just spent the extra 100K and gone the Hines route. His base is really high, and I said that would be the case, and that with the goal kicking would offer a great floor. He didn't do a great deal in the game. I think he only got the one try assist with a line break assist attached to it, and he got 72 points. So if he's going to be able to bang out a 72 with not doing a great deal, that's someone I want in my 7 until I can get Nathan Cleary. So there is a chance that I do dump Sam Walker this week. I'm not sure. I think we have Manly, I think it is this week. So I feel like there could be some points in that game for both sides. It'd be interesting to see Teddy versus Turbo. The other one is Cody Walker. As I said, I'd only really planned this to be 1 week play. I always plan to cash out and have the cash there if I wanted to get Turbo for the Bulldogs game in round 3, depending on his break even. I've now got to decide whether or not I just go straight Cody Walker to Munster, pick stick for the season, and I'll still have about, I think, 130K or something on top of that, which will be quite handy for me because I might be able to upgrade enough into someone that really impressed this weekend. So
yeah, I think
we'll see what happens.
I think you should go straight to Munster. Hey, the boys that are getting put in the sin bin, just not in the sin bin, send off. No two ways about it. You're getting sent. Don't come back in. Cody Walker, just in general, you're going straight to the send off pile, mate. With that draw that you have, I cannot go near you. I'm putting Brandon Smith. He's getting sent off too, unfortunately. Cut all ties with Brandon Smith. Todd Payton, he's also getting sent off. Todd Payton can go rot for all I care. These play the ball penalties. No, I'm going to hold Lolo. I've got a reason why. I'll tell you soon. These play the ball penalties, they can also get sent off. What's going on there? What is doing with these? They've never been called. Why are we calling them now? I don't understand it.
I'll add the 10-minute late HIAs out for the game
yes.
To the send-off list because, that's ridiculous. They've just gone on and played for an extra 5-10 minutes with no issues, making tackles, making runs, and then, an independent doctor goes, oh, no, you're out for the game with the highest level of concussion there is apparently, even though you've passed an on-field test. It's just silly to me.
Yeah, I don't really understand it. But let's move on. The Hall of Fame. This is my favourite part of the show. We get to nominate something from the week of league, and I'm going to get you guys to vote on it on my Instagram. I'll put a poll up at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Brew, out of all the things that happen in this wonderful week of opening footy, what are you putting into the Hall of Fame? What are you nominating for the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, mine's a bit left field here because I didn't have much SuperCoach to cheer about. So I want to nominate Ryan Pappenhausen's beautiful Joe Dirt mullet for the Hall of Fame because it is the greatest thing I think I've ever seen on the football field.
I am going to be nominating, what's his name? Kurt Capewell and his field goal abilities. Kurt Capewell's field goal is my nomination. That wasn't dribbled over either. That was leather. That was leather. That was going 40 on the fly.
That reminded me of, I think it was Cooper Cronk in Origin one year, and he nailed one from about 45 meters out. And that's what when I saw that, that's the kick that it reminded me of. I also want to nominate Cody Walker's intercept into the Hall of Fame because that was deja vu from the grand final for me.
If I was having
dishing up the ball into someone's lap.
If I was having a second nomination, I want to nominate the commentator that said Cody Walker doesn't normally do that, despite yet the game before he played, like the very last club game that he played, he did the same thing in the grand final. So yeah, shout out to that. So this week it will be Ryan Pappenhausen's haircut versus Kurt Capewell's field goal kicking abilities. Hey, Brew, before we sign off for the week, mate, what are your thoughts, sort of where you're thinking? Because for me, the only real thought that I've got right now is probably Jermaine Snell-Brown to Josh King, and then maybe try and find a way to get to Josh Curran, but I don't think I can do that this week.
I'm pretty happy with my forward pack as a whole. I think I've got Murray, Crichton, CHN, Watson, Tuolagi, someone else, I'm forgetting who. Like, I'm pretty happy with that. Clemmer went okay. I'll have another look there. Bullimore went okay. I'll have another look there. Marnie's pick and stick for me. So really, it's my halves that are concerning me a little bit. I'd expected more. And I'm a little bit worried about CTW roulette. I wouldn't be as worried if Russell wasn't injured. But now I think I'm looking at playing a Valamai or a Billy Smith. And that kind of worries me because I had Smith.
I played Smith.
And Ramsey this week both get like 16 and 22. And I don't want to be doing that for too long, to be honest with you. So that's a small concern for me. Yep.
I had Tago on the bench and Penasini on the bench. So I've got cover for Smith and cover for Russell. So not too bad. But yeah, not ideal to leave Isaac Tago on the bench, who scored 70-something ridiculous points. I scored more points.
I won't be doing that again.
I scored more points this week in NRL Fantasy than I did in NRL Supercoach. And for anyone that plays both codes, you understand how impossible that is with how low the fantasy scoring is. Hey, but that's going to wrap up the Rage Trade Sunday special for round one. We'll be back all things on Tuesday with the regular previews. Try and steer you into some better winners than what we did this week because, Jesus Christ, round one was rough. On Thursdays, you guys know that me and the Don will be live answering all your Supercoach questions. But, Brew, we're done for round one. It can't get much worse than round two. That's the positive I'm looking at.
Yeah, exactly right. Look, it's only 1 week. You know, with good buy planning and whatnot, you can catch it up. So I'm not panicking. I know some people look at the score and go, oh, you boys suck or whatever, but I'm not here for 1 week. I'm here for 25. So let's bring it on. Let's make some smart moves. And
I'll be ranked like 50K this week, but I'm not fussed because I'm only, 150, 200 points off the top tier. So I'm not stressed at all. And for anyone listening,
top score is probably 1,000 to 1,100 in that range. I think most people will be in the 800 to 900 range, and anything 900 plus, you've done quite well.
All right. So that's going to wrap it up for round one, the Rage Trade Sunday special. We'll be back here 7:30 Tuesday. Back 7:30 Tuesday.
Indeed.
And this will be a regular occurrence. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the layout. I have been your host, the SC Whisperer. I have been joined by Brew SC22. We'll be back next week on Tuesday after Teamless Tuesday. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your night. Good night. Goodbye.